individuals that buy Porsches, they buy multiple Porsches, right? They buy multiple Audis. And you just gotta take care of them and stay in touch with them, and it's just this white glove experience.
Hey everyone, welcome to Leadership in the Dealership, the podcast where we dive into the latest trends shaping the automotive world with insights from today's thought leaders. I'm your host, Don Richards-Beff. I'm excited for our discussion today with Dennis Gingrich, Sales and Finance Director at the Niello Company out of Sacramento, California. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Don. Excited to be here.
Yeah, 100%. Excited to get you on. I think you've got things in common with one of my recent guests, Sam DeArt. So I want to jump into that, find out more about your background and Niello Company. So to kick things off, share a little bit about your journey to the auto industry. How did you get your start so early on? I think I saw you were a new dad, move into the vendor side, and then how'd you land at Niello Company?
So getting into the business was just a byproduct of I wanted to do cool stuff while I was going to school at the University of Nevada, Reno. And my dad said, "You can do anything you want as long as you got the money to make that happen." And so I decided to sell cars like my dad did. And while going to school, I just sold cars. I didn't really have a traditional college experience. If I wasn't at school, I was at the lot calling colors, sitting on a tailgate, reading whatever needed to be read. So that's how I got into that. And, it started out really well. I always had money to do some fun things. And then, as you pointed out, I found out I was having my first kid earlier than anticipated, which was great. He's 24 now. He's stationed out in Kentucky. He's in the Army. Just got a promotion. He's going to be moving down to Texas for a new opportunity. So really proud of him. But, that's how I got into it. And then I got more and more serious about the business and less serious about my education, which kind of sounds weird. I like to learn. But I like that.
So whatever works, whatever takes you on the journey, man.
Yeah. So, that was cool. And then I got an opportunity to get into finance at 20. And that's where I spent the bulk of my what I still to this day, that I would say that's kind of my cornerstone of what I do, here. And, it's led to a lot of great opportunities, but moved over to Sacramento, California to chase my wife because she's from this area originally.
Right.
And so that's kind of how that happened. And getting into the vendor world was just, I had a real good friend. We're still close friends that called on me while he worked at Zurich back in Reno. And then he just moseyed into the dealership I was working at, Future Ford of Roseville, right around, I don't know, that was probably 2011. He had got promoted there and needed somebody to take his seat, asked me if I was interested. And I was just really, at that time, I was dying for something new, so I was actually prepared to make some just sacrifices from a monetary standpoint.
Right.
And didn't turn out into that, actually turned up better. So I got into Zurich, which I spent 8 years with, worked with Sam, who you've had on your pod, really good friend of mine, love him like a brother. We keep in touch. And then that's where I met the Niello Company. This was my largest account. Got to know everybody here. And then they had an opening for a new position, finance director. We talked, and here I am. And then, so that's kind of how I got here.
Fantastic. So for those that don't know Niello Company, 9 luxury brands, I think 800 units on the ground today, serving the kind of greater Bay Area there, but been around for a really long time. And when we say a long time, 100 plus years, I believe, right? So give us a little bit about that background, and I think family owned as well, right?
Yeah, no. So the Niello Company, originally they were a Packard Pierce Arrow dealer in San Francisco in the 1920s. He started in 1921. And then, that's where they got the start. And then they migrated up here to Sacramento, where they became a Volkswagen dealer, which led to other opportunities. Audi, Porsche were I think we're the oldest privately held Porsche dealership in the country, as well as one of the newest. So we just got awarded a second point, which we're really excited about.
Congrats.
We're predominantly, as you mentioned, in the luxury segment. We've got Porsche, Land Rover, Jaguar, Acura, Volvo, Audi, Mini, Volkswagen, and I always feel like I'm missing one. Oh, BMW. So I got them too. So that's what we do, and like you mentioned, it is a privately owned company. The Nielo family. I always tell everybody we work for good kings. They're amazing, amazing people. And I'm really fortunate to be here, and they've really given me a lot of opportunity and leeway to just grow professionally and live a great life when I'm not on the clock.
Fantastic. So, thinking about that, you'd say they give you a fantastic opportunity. And I think back to a lot of the guests that we've had on the podcast, Liza Borges of CMA, Ed Walters, Bozard Ford, Andrew DeFeo, Sam Dark, Ziegler. And one of the commonalities I hear about organizations that are just doing amazing things in the industry is an employee first focus. So we always used to, certainly in auto, right? Customer first. Customer always comes first. And what I'm hearing and seeing, observing, is a transition to take care of your employees first, then you can take care of and make a great, happy customer. So, what does that look like at Nielo? How do your core values actually shape employee first focus?
Well, it's interesting. When I started here, it was February of 2020, and a few short months later, the world kind of changed radically. And
Yeah.
with COVID,
Putting it slightly.
yeah, right. Yeah, it was. I know. I can tell you this. I wasn't feeling very comfortable in my brand new position for a company.
And then nobody can come into the dealership, or at least for a little bit, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, we're a little bit more inland here in Sacramento, so it wasn't as extreme. You get closer to the bay, people were still coming in. It was largely business the same, but initially we didn't feel that way. But from a core value standpoint, when we were sitting around the table, making some organizational decisions that turned out to be very, very brief, and we brought people back on, working through some furloughs, staffing up appropriately, you could really see the owners and the leadership team, that truly is the operating system, in which we work with our team. Our core values are pretty simple. They're on the wall at every dealership, and they're not just some words that look cool on a wall. It literally, if you don't follow these core values, that's a way where you can earn an opportunity to pursue excellence elsewhere. So we take it very seriously, but we are a team. We lead with that. We respect one another. At the end of the day, Don, we're all trying to do one thing, and that's just take care of the customer, right? That's all we're trying to do, whether it's in sales, service, or parts. And really, the only really disagreement we should have is how we best do that, right? So when you're aligned in the goal, that all comes pretty simply. Our third value is we really do encourage self-improvement. When we go into our new hire orientation, or we have new employee orientation that happens every couple months, and then every Monday when we bring people on, I always ask the same question. The role you're going into, is that what you want to do for the rest of your life professionally? And nobody raises their hand, right? And in order to do that, we you need to encourage self-improvement, and they've got to do that themselves. They have to hold themselves to high expectations, which we do, which is our fourth core value. We embrace change. And then, second, the second to last bullet on that is we enthusiastically value our customers. And I think that's purposeful. If we do all those other things, the customer experience naturally takes care of itself. And when we do all that at a high level, we are able to support our community. We're one of the largest philanthropic givers here in the Sacramento region, and we're a car dealership. I don't think there's another car dealership on that list or group. So, community takes care of us. We turn around, give back, and there's the circle of life for you.
Yeah, love it. And starting with the employees. So, thinking about you bring people into the org, they're super excited. You ask them, is this what you want to do? And as you mentioned, nobody's saying, "Yeah, of course, I want this same thing 20 years from now."
Mhm.
What does it look like to progress? How do y'all carry someone from, maybe started as a sales professional and then I'm interested in overtime management or, service department managing service? What does progression look like?
I think the first thing is, saying what you want to do as a professional. I do want to grow, right? Because that's the first step. Because I think there are people that maybe don't share their aspirations, their professional aspirations, or quite honestly, their personal aspirations. Um, with the people that can help them get to that place, right? Out of,
Right.
for whatever reason, maybe they're just afraid to make it sound like a commitment. They can't make it or whatever. But I think number one is, we ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I
Same.
I think it starts there, and and then it becomes incumbent upon our managers at the store level, the individuals in this office, to hear what they're saying and find a way and make sure they understand what a good job looks like in their current role and what a good job looks like in the next role they want, and find little opportunities where they can you know, earn the opportunity to move up, whether that come to some meetings. Yesterday, we had a couple demos with two different vendors on some software we're looking at implementing across the group,
Hmm.
and we invited a lot of the salespeople into that meeting. Because they're the end user, but it was the individuals that have said, "Hey, I want to do more eventually," and they're engaged in what they're doing currently. So I think that's the foundational piece, and then it's just, hey, you've done X, Y, and Z. There's an opportunity. You've earned it, and we really do work to promote from within before we go outside. Especially in leadership roles.
Awesome. So if I'm hearing right, it's uh, set expectations properly. Here's what excellence looks like, and display that excellence. But then don't just pigeonhole yourself into this is the only thing I do. Look for opportunities of excellence above and beyond. If you have ideas, talk about them, share them, impact the customer experience, and then that opens up opportunities for you. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. People that share what they want to do, that ask great questions, those are the ones that make great leaders. You have to engage in just the broader dealership environment,
Yeah.
if you want to grow, because everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody that comes in says, hey, eventually I'd love to be a general manager. Well, you got to generally be involved in everything. Why not start as much as you can early?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. So we take care of the employees. Folks
mhm.
are happy. And as you mentioned, one of the core values is a great customer experience. It is what jumped out at me is like that employee focus. You're making sure that that's what they see first, but then don't forget you're here for the customer. So, what does excellent customer care and customer service look like at Nielo Company?
I think it just starts with good communication, listening. I always say this: we have two ears and one mouth. I think if we use them proportionately, the customer experience tends to happen. But customers tell you, what they're looking for, how they want to be treated. It's just up to us to take that information and do the right thing. By the customer. We want to I'll often draw this parallel. Our pre-owned program, everybody gets a 7-day, 700-mile return policy, no
Right.
questions asked. We want the customer to have the right car, the right deal. If both those items aren't present, we don't really want their business in the moment. And there's been a number of times where it doesn't happen often. Like, hey, I just don't want this car anymore. It's like, hey, cool, bring it back. And then you'll see them back in the dealership, 60, 90 days later because their
Right.
life circumstances change. So, I just think it's listening and, just giving them a good experience. And, quite frankly, I just think it's that simple. Do what you say you're going to do and do all the follow up and listen. And, I don't know. It's that simple in my eyes.
Yeah. So what does it look like getting customers back? Right. I buy my first car from you. You've made it a great experience. How are you how are you at Nielo making sure you get people coming back in, and what does it look like? I'm back for number two, I'm back for number three, or you talked about your son. Maybe I'm picking up a car for new driver, family member, or a friend. How are y'all incentivizing staff and customers to keep those CSI scores high, get repeat business?
Well, I think that just starts with treating your. I mean, it's not my business, right? But I need to, specifically as a sales professional or a sales manager, I
Mm-hmm.
think really this maybe applies slightly more in the luxury segment. You got to treat your book of business like it's your book of business, right? Because these people, if you give them a great experience and you take care of them, you know, individuals that buy Porsches, they buy multiple Porsches, right? They buy
Right.
multiple Audis there, and you gotta take care of them and, stay in touch with them. And, it's just this white glove experience. And I think, we do a great job. We have a number of individuals across multiple rooftops that really treat it as such. It's not just a eat what you kill environment, and we really try to extend that over into our pre-owned operation, which has really been a focus for us. We've grown our inventory substantially along with our sales. And, the individual that maybe comes into our store looking that because we just happen to have a nice, I don't know, Honda Odyssey that fits the bill for them in that moment, or maybe it's a starter car. You can go into Porsche Sacramento and buy a Honda Civic, and we're going to put that Honda Civic in the Porsche delivery bay because pretty much everybody wants a Porsche one day, and they're going to get there, and we want to be ready for them.
I love it.
So I
So
think from a sales standpoint, that's it,
yeah,
and
right,
service at it no differently.
right, right car, right customer at that moment. Future opportunity for the dream car, right? Dream
Correct.
opportunity. Yeah. So since let's put the lens on you and your time at Nielo. Then, what was it like when you first got there, and what does it look like today in your world? So you're thinking about back end, gross, things like that, which to a customer may not mean a whole lot. To the company, it means everything. But how do you translate profitability that you're focused on, where you started, where you are today, and that customer experience we just talked about?
Well, it's looking at it through the lens of finance and insurance. I think if you just ask customers, hey, would you like a car that had all these things? If it broke, it got fixed. You don't have to pay for your maintenance. You have a total loss. You don't have to deal with it. All that stuff. I think on its face, I think if you asked everybody, those are all things that people would like to have with their car. And I just, the question is, do they see enough value in them to spend the extra money
Right.
to get those? And I think, more specifically through the lens of a luxury dealer, convenience is a big thing for a lot of our customers. They're very busy professionals. They don't, they want to buy a car. They don't want to necessarily deal with the, just the challenges that go along with car ownership, and I think that initially, when I first came on board, a big area of really the reason I was brought on was to move the needle in the F&I department from a profitability standpoint.
Right.
Because as you would guess, our buyers are traditionally, financially better off than maybe somebody that might go to, a mainstream brand, right?
Sure.
So, and it just became a function of, offering these products and services and looking at it through a lens of convenience. And, we just got really good at providing, just great presentation across the full spectrum of products and the services that go along with it. And, a couple of years later, we've, more than doubled our per car, and following up, people will pay whatever. I mean,
Sure.
as long as they feel good about what they're buying, and you just have to be, present it in a way that's honest, straightforward, and consistently, and people will, hey, yes. And the best thing is people use them all the time. I see all the claims, so it's great.
Yeah.
But that's been a big focus for us. I would say we're pretty steady and consistent, happy where we're at, and getting to there, like I said earlier, led to some additional opportunity for me professionally here. So that was
Fantastic.
really cool.
So, one of the things you notice when you come to your website beyond just great merchandising, really consistent experience, things are easy to understand, and certainly from a luxury standpoint, luxury customer, you don't want to be throwing pop-ups everywhere and things like that. So it was nice, clean, consistent experience. But um, tell me a little bit about Nielo Go and what kind of brought y'all to now's the time for our brand, our company to go to online sales. And how's that gone? What does it look like in your market for your customer? What's the reception to that been?
So, I would say, in terms of a percentage of our overall sales from volume, it's in line, maybe slightly better than when we look at the national picture. It's
Sure.
single digits. More
Yep.
people still want to transact in store. But you look at the Carvanas of the world. I mean, they're selling a significant amount of cars. So it's a question of, you know, eventually, I think it's going to creep more in that direction. So from our standpoint, starting that was, it's like, well, you don't want to be too late to that party. So that's really what prompted us to do that. We started that journey a little over 2 years ago now, and we've definitely learned a lot from marketing. We didn't want to compete with our stores in their own backyard. From a marketing standpoint, we were operating that particular part of our business outside to pick up truly incremental sales. The online experience, if you look at Nielo Go Google reviews, it's great. We've had glowing reviews. People like it, and I think that's just you know proof that people do want that type of experience, and it's up to us to meet them where they want to be. If they want to start online and finish online, excellent. If they want to do a portion of it online and then come pick it up in store and get an F&I experience, then we'll do that too. Or we'll take the car to them. Hell, we shipped one across the country to, I think it was Virginia.
Oh,
So
all
we're,
right. So
we're getting out there.
crossing borders here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely been a learning process. DMV is a complicated animal. And setting expectations, because how it works in California, it's not the same in other places. So a
Sure.
little more hand holding afterwards, which we pride ourselves on. We have three amazing people, Michelle, Kristen, and David, that really give those customers a white glove experience, and they can our customers get a real human on the phone if and when they need one.
Right. Fantastic. So you've been at it for a couple of years. You
Mhm.
mentioned Carvana. We have D2C experiences like Tesla, Rivian. Um, VW announced Scout, right?
Yeah.
And those D2C experiences are known for, wow, that was easy, right? It's incredibly easy to buy a uh, rather expensive vehicle, right? But then sometimes the gap is service, or that customer that maybe isn't ready, right, for the entirely online transaction. And you were mentioning you're bridging the gap. And maybe you're not entirely there. As you mentioned, it's single digit transactions for Nielo Go, but maybe you're not entirely there. Or the industry isn't entirely there for fully like touch free transactions. But where do you see Nielo Go going for your company? And then specifically around finance, insurance, we talk about this a lot with customers is how do you get someone online when you're not guiding them through that experience to opt into the convenience that you mentioned, right? Like this $50 a month, this $100 a month is going to
Mhm.
change your life because you don't have to think about anything. It's one thing when you're talking about them right in front of you. It's a little bit different when you're online.
Yeah, well, I will say this out of the gate: the entirely online transactions, the number of people that self-select an F&I product is low. It's not,
Mhm.
I mean, quite honestly, it's not great at all. But
Sure.
at the end of the day, there's probably of the people that are willing to transact online, I would say the reason they're transacting online is because they don't want that F&I experience, because I think that,
Mm.
broadly speaking, across the industry has probably been the least desirable part from a customer standpoint. So I
Sure.
think
But
probably
the
they're
thing that
moving.
saves your ass in the end, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's a shame, right? And
Right?
that's what we work out in store. We want to have a good experience. And I'm not here to say that, every F&I experience at the Nielo Company is frictionless and it's
Sure.
perfect. Business, you're going to have some challenges. We strive for perfection, but I think for me, it's just how do you handle it when you have a challenge. But back to the online piece, when we send them over the documentation, we like to accompany it with a phone call and you know just give them an opportunity to make sure they don't have any questions, explain some of the options that are available on there that they may have passed over. And sometimes we get to, they are interested in a conversation, right? And so we do pick up an occasional product here or there, but they're
Mhm.
given an opportunity, I think, to think about it a little bit more, make some, maybe what they feel is a more informed decision. I can't remember the study, but broadly what it said is people do want F&I products. They just want more time to learn about them and then make the decision. And I think this online, the way we're approaching it, lends itself to what that study read. But and we just got to make sure we have great F&I products. When they need it, it needs to work, right? It can't
Yeah.
be because if that doesn't work, that's just, well, that person is never going to buy an F&I product from us or anybody else again if we do a bad job.
Right. So, got it with Niello Go. Is there anything you're doing in the showroom experience that incentivizes, I guess, that great customer experience of when you walk away from here, this is worry free, this is stress free, right? You're buying a luxury vehicle and you're going to get a luxury care experience for us. You want that peace of mind. Like, don't walk away without that because you're only getting half of the experience, right? So to speak, right? You're getting much more of a you just bought a car as opposed to frustration-free ownership. So,
Yeah.
is there anything you're doing in the showroom to reinforce that?
I think the biggest thing is, hiring the right people, right, and training
Mhm.
them appropriately, from an F&I standpoint to get that whole convenient ownership experience. Our sales personnel, when we share numbers, we share options of F&I products earlier in the sales process. Not it's not the salesperson's job to sell those products per se.
Sure.
It's just to share information, promote awareness. And some customers, oh, that's great. I had it on my last vehicle. I definitely want it on this. And, they catch some of those up front. And then, it turns in when the F&I manager, if a customer self-selects a couple, two, three products, during the sales process, then, the menu becomes shorter, other things to talk about, so it kind of hones it in. And, we focus on that. We really lean in. We want our salespeople ensuring our customers know about the 7-day, 700-mile policy, the warranty that comes with it. We want our customers to see the vehicle history report. We want them to know everything about the car
Right.
they're buying, right? And I think, when we do that more earlier in the sales process, our customers are more receptive to further conversations in the F&I office and knowing that, hey, these guys are leading with the truth, the facts, it's black and white, and I can feel comfortable making a decision here to have a better experience down the road.
Cool.
So nothing riveting, but, just focusing on the fundamentals, I think, Don.
For sure. Well, hey, fundamentals is the key to success. You fail at that execution, you're just not executing. So,
Right.
let's talk about an area that maybe from a customer standpoint, this isn't truly things I think customers think about. But certainly at the dealership level, you do. On the compliance and fraud side, I think about conversations I've had throughout this year. Um, Far more conversations with dealers right now are leading with compliance and fraud at the center of how you operate, and that just extends to your bottom line, right? If you fail at compliance or fraud is increasing, it's impacting you directly. So, what are you seeing at Nielo? Is compliance an increasing concern for you? Is fraud increasing? We hear it in the news, but I'm curious on the ground. Like, what is your observation?
Yeah, I mean, compliance in general, that's always been at the forefront of what we do. We have an outside entity that, routinely reviews, transactions, does
Mm,
full deal jacket audits to make sure that we're following the letter of the law. And I think one thing California, everybody outside of California goes, oh, it's crazy. It's difficult to do business there, which,
yeah,
if you're not used to it, yeah, sure it is. But I think, some of the stuff that California does is good from a customer experience standpoint. And, like a pre-contract disclosure, we've talked a lot about F&I, where it
hmm,
itemizes every product that was sold, how much it costs, the payment
right,
with and without it. I think that's good. That's something that cars rule had kind of floated that was going to go down. I think that's good. So we've always been very compliance heavy. We want to do the right thing, and if we found out we didn't do something correctly, we're owning it. I'd rather eat it up front before an
right,
attorney brings it to my attention. So that is always important. Will always be important here, and because it's just the reputational damage and the financial impact is just far too great to take your foot off that gas pedal. But from a fraud standpoint, I mean, that is something, if you asked me 6 months ago what kept me up at night, it was probably more the regulatory environment
sure,
that was coming down. I think with the election, that might look a little bit different. I'm sure we'll see some changes, but I mean, fraud right now it's out of control. I have a whiteboard right here, and I mean, it's not a huge list, but it's a list that just, I mean, I freaking hate it, man. It is such a time suck. It's so expensive.
yeah,
And, there's one thing that gets me excited in the wrong way is when something like that happens. So we're super focused on, doing the traditional stuff, the OFAC, the red flags, but these criminals are so much smarter now. I mean, we had a couple challenges with an online transaction where it slipped through the cracks. We did all the right things, but the software did. So, I've had
yeah,
actually just yesterday, I had a great conversation with a company that specializes in that, in collaboration with the California Department of DMV, coming
okay,
up with a way to prevent that from happening. Cause it's, I mean, it's so expensive, and just the time suck that goes from chasing those things around. And I just don't like it. I'm lazy. I don't want to deal with that kind of
yeah.
stuff. So
And
for me, I want
where there's
to.
a will, there's a way, and I guess that's true for fraud, right? Any crazy stories about you mentioned online and in single digit transactions, maybe not as big of a deal at the moment for you, but
Yeah.
you're obviously, like you said, you're getting ahead of the curve there. So already thinking about online fraud. Any crazy wild stories about something that may have happened at the showroom or transaction dollar amounts? I've heard some six figure fraud running around before. So
Yeah, I mean, there's one. There was an individual. Really, the operation was based out not too far out of Sacramento, a place called Rancho Murrieta, and this isn't necessarily identity fraud, but something that's really concerning for me is this. I've heard it called different stuff, but like lien loss or washing the title, where an individual will go buy a car out in Florida. This happened to us. A fraudster goes and buys a car out in Florida, and then they move it around to a bunch of different states. But ultimately, they brought this Mercedes here to California, and was able to get a California title with no lien holder on it. And then what they'll do is they'll take it into a dealership and they'll sell it, because we all buy cars now.
sure, sure,
Title checks clean, everything is clean. You wouldn't know. And then lo and behold, you sell a car to a customer, they finance it, and then the real lien holder comes out and tries to pop the car. And then
yeah,
of course that customer gets a little bit excited, like, what the hell's going on? I'm making payments. But I'm aware of you know four of those. And
wow, okay,
it's wild. I have buddies that work around here in California that have experienced some similar things, and I honestly don't know a perfect way to prevent that without going to a universal source of truth for titles and lien holders. But as you
and
know, every state knows better than their neighboring state or the one across the country. So
yeah, I know,
uh,
and I know there's movement afoot for broader cooperation, right? We have the digital titles coming out of, I think, West Virginia, and others are hopping on board. You mentioned California DMV. So folks like Champ Titles have really made some amazing progress there. So to your point, it's probably going to take a number of years,
Yeah.
maybe many years, but if we see fraud increase, it's probably that cooperation will increase as well.
Well, hopefully the Doge gets us there faster. Right? I'm excited about that, man.
I see which side of the coin we're getting to. Less regulation or more cooperation, or who knows where we'll end up
To
there.
make a good environment for people to do business in, not just businesses, but really the consumer, right? Because ultimately all the stuff that slows everything down just drives up costs, in my opinion. But we need to protect consumers. They deserve an honest, transparent buying experience, and then the other piece, I don't think anybody can agree with that disagree, pardon me.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier some of the stuff that Nielo had done in the community. So we've talked about employee first, customer experience, operational excellence, and then kind of one of the last things, but really the underpinning of much of your success, right, is the community. They keep coming back to Nielo. Without the community, there's nothing to give back to. There's no one buying your car. So, what are y'all doing in community? What are you most proud of as far as the impact? You mentioned, I think Nielo was second in the rankings there. So, what does that look like?
The family, just contributes to a number of local charities. Our president, Rick Nielo, a couple of years ago was the Humanitarian of the Year here in California. This morning, actually, all of our stores, we've got a big, the Drive to Give. We do that every year. You go into our stores, we got some big old buckets full of some toys for some kids that, probably wouldn't have something if, we weren't filling up buckets. And, those are all getting dragged over to our Volkswagen store tomorrow morning. And we've got about, I think, 300 people coming with their fancy, cool cars to help haul toys over to the drop-off location. So, we've got that. And, we support, cheer squads, little league teams, and just a bunch of different stuff throughout the community. And, some might say that maybe we don't shout that from the rooftop here locally to take full advantage of, which, for me personally, I think internally that's the right thing to do. There's an old story, if you're going out doing charitable acts and tooting your own horn doing it, is it really genuine?
It's not very charitable.
I get as a business, it's a balance, but I think the Nielo has struck the right chord for that. I mean, we want people to know that we do support the community, but if that's all you talk about, then I think it could be off-putting to some. Maybe that's just my personal take to do it too much, but I think they strike a good balance there. But I think the best thing we do for the community, we have roughly 650 employees. We were nominated the best place to work in Sacramento in the large business segment. That's that crystal trophy below Elon Musk.
Yeah.
For me, that is the best thing we do for our community. We got 650 individuals that live in this community. They're treated well, and they talk about, their experience here. And we get a lot of people that want to come join. We're an aspirational company to work out, specifically in the retail automotive segment out here in Northern California. People know about us. And I think for me, that's the most important thing we do to a community is take care of these 650 people. And it just brings everybody in like a big tractor beam. So it's great.
Fantastic. So if you mentioned bringing cars out, taking presents to kids who may not have as much, to in their own family lives and whatnot, which means we're getting to the end of the year, which every time we come to the end of the year, I'm like, how do we get here? Well, we're already here again. So when you look back at 2024, what are you most proud of, or what maybe surprised you the most as far as Nielo and what's gone on?
As far as Nielo, I don't want to say, surprise wouldn't be the right, something that I'm just most impressed about for our team is just the way we have focused, at each individual store has the challenges they had last year that were items they wanted to fix in 2024. And I was just so proud of each of the individuals that, that their self-described challenges, the way they put together a plan and to address the issue and how they were able to sew it up in relatively short order. And then just the personal ownership of how we got to that problem to begin with, and to just fix it across these, 10, I call it 10 rooftops because we've got 10 CDK instances is how I think about it. But, that has been the most pleasing thing for me. We've had a lot of individuals with some that we had those issues, like we had maybe a store not doing as well as they need to do from an F&I standpoint, to where it was really one or two individuals that have really adjusted their game that lifted the whole department. And matter of fact, I got an email for one of those, a gal that started as a salesperson, moved up to an assistant sales manager, and then got promoted to F&I and came out of the gate strong, had some of those growing pains, and she has just really responded, and she made our top producers, our superstar club, literally just yesterday. So I got a good email. So those are the stories for me that is what I'm most proud of, is those individual wins that really support the whole store.
Love it. And then as we look forward to 2025, anything that you've got on the docket for this is what we want to accomplish next year, or if not that direction, maybe a prediction, anything you're thinking about for next year?
I think 2025 is going to be great. I think it's just a question of how great it's going to be. And that's going to be dependent on us. In terms of a focus, with our Niello Go platform, we have some, interesting changes, coming up on the horizon on how we're going to tackle that, shift some marketing spend, and, what that will lead to, I think for us is, getting, a centralized BDC, here. I know there's a lot of BDC action out, and that seems to be a common topic. Some of it's getting outsourced to other country. I don't know that we're interested in that, but building that internally. And I think that's going to lead to some additional career advancement opportunities for people at our store. So, we're really looking to, that's something we're focused on, and, we're going to continue to, move the needle in our new car markets, but also continue to grow our used car business, which we have, that's been going on for a year. But we feel like we have a lot more opportunity this year, and we're just trying to keep the graph going up and to the right, and that seems to be the trajectory.
Fantastic, love it. So we've come to the end of another episode. Really appreciate you joining us today, Dennis, and the time you've offered up. Where can people find you? Where do you prefer people reach out if they want to connect with you post the podcast?
I would say I'm mostly active on LinkedIn. On there,
Fantastic.
Dennis Gingrich, I do that, and that's the best place. You can probably find some YouTube videos where I give out my cell phone number. That's been a blessing and a curse at the same time, but obviously I wasn't afraid enough to do it, so it's out there. I just love talking to people about our industry. I know Sam talked about it on that podcast. We're definitely aligned. This is truly an amazing industry, and I hope it can attract more. Interesting. I got a Glassdoor email last night. I was just sitting there scrolling through my inbox about people trying to find opportunity, and I'm just going, man, have you ever considered the car business? Because there's some great people on there, but there's just that stigma that we've done to ourselves. If we could get past that, I think we can attract some great talent, which will turn into a great careers, and our customers will benefit from it.
Yeah,
so.
I think the groundswell is coming. Like I said, just the number of people I've met had great conversations. I think the culture in so many groups, like yourselves, is changing, and it's leading to better times ahead. And it's how far up and to the right can we get to? I think, and to your point. All based on the people you hire. So we just got to let them know there are great opportunities for them. So appreciate it. Best end of year here for you guys and your 650 employees, and best of luck in 2025. Hope you guys crush it.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. Hope the same for you and your company, man.
Yeah. Thanks, Dennis.
Thanks, Don.